All right, there's enough storage facilities. And actually, you don't want to be focusing on this like cities like Orlando and like Nashville and Charlotte and you know all these cities, these huge big cities. You don't want to be like, because it's too expensive, right? So you don't want to be focusing on these kinds of cities, all right, to build new construction, right? You want to be focusing on secondary and tertiary markets. All right, so I'm in Atlanta, all right, and then like here's the perimeter of Atlanta, right? And then you have this is called the secondary market. This would be like, you know, Marietta and Woodstock and like all the way down, like I'm from Peachtree City, maybe all this. And then you have like what's called the tertiary market. How do you spell tertiary? Tertiary. I have no idea. That says tertiary right there. Okay, guys. So so the tertiary market, right? Now, so you don't want to be focused, you don't want to be driving around Orlando trying to find a storage facility to buy. Okay. So this is not a good strategy, okay, to find them. All right. You want to be focusing on secondary if you have a lot of money, and tertiary if you don't have a lot of money. All right, let's just put it that way. That's easy, right? So, and then, you know, you want to know and you want to truly understand, you know, cap rate. I mean, everything in the storage world, everything is all about cap rate and square footage. Remember that storage facilities are considered warehouses, okay? They're considered warehouses. And this is not multifamily, it's not doors, right? Like nobody nobody that knows what they're talking about talks about doors in self-storage. It's about units. What's your unit mix, right? But not doors, right? I got in and I was always like, yeah, I've done like, you know, 500 doors or whatever, you know, and so that's like in the multifamily world, that's what you say. But in the storage facility world, you talk about unit mix is what you talk about, okay? So y'all getting some lingo down now, right? So it's all about cap rate, square footage, unit mix, right? So when you're starting to look for storage facilities, this is my personal opinion. And actually, how much? Write in the chat for me. How much money do you think you would be able to borrow to buy a storage facility? Now let's consider the 80-20 rule. And if you have any money, just buy. I have no money. Because I own millions of dollars worth of storage facilities and I haven't put a dime of my own money in, right? But if you have money, it makes life, you know, if you have money, it makes life easier, right? So let's consider the 80-20 rule. Okay, 20, you have to come up with 20%. So how much can you come up with 20%? You can afford X amount of dollars, right? Because 80% you can get funded. All right, you can easily, and honestly, you get the bet. If you have no money, you pay a higher interest rate for borrowing your money versus if you have money, right, then you pay a lower interest rate because you can go to the bank, right, and you can borrow money. And like my students, they are, I mean, they're borrowing at like 4% interest rate. Like one of my students, he got like 3.75% interest rate on like a 25-year loan. Right. So, so basically what somebody's saying, Stacy, you have none of your own money, but you're sitting in and doing hard money loans. No. I use private money. Okay. So, so consider the 80-20 rule, right? 20% down, right? And you're going to borrow 80%. All right. And you're going to get badass interest rates for doing that. And that is what you do with that's what you do. Let's do 80-20. Okay. And that's what you do with a cash flowing property. Right? Cash flowing, right? So if you can get a P&L and a balance sheet and tax returns from the owner, and they say, yes, I want to work with you to sell my property at top dollar, that's what happens. If you're buying a cash flowing property, I say most of the time it's top dollar. And if not top dollar, it's like middle range dollar, right? Okay, so my question to you is, do you have 20% to put down to buy a cash flowing property? right? And if so, if you know what that 20, if you know, like I saw somebody say 75,000, I have $75,000. So that means that he can borrow X amount of money. He could probably borrow like, let's say he could probably buy up, if you have $75,000, you can buy like a $500,000 facility. Right? Because remember, something like that is kind of how you know. So then you say, okay, like if I have 75 grand, I know I can go out, I can go and get this size of a facility. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? So that's why I'm asking. I'm not asking for your personal information. I'm asking, like, start thinking about how much money you have in order to invest. Okay. Now, and so cash flowing properties is what you're going to be doing. If you can come up with 20%, and the best thing about the 20% is that you can get like, I mean, you're going to get like a 4 to 5% interest rate. Okay. All right. So that's the best thing about the cash flowing properties. Okay. Or you can do what I do, right? Which is buy mismanaged properties. Number 3, actually, we have 4 of the 5 now. We have wholesaling, mismanaged properties, cash flowing properties, new construction, and then we'll go over the 5th one a little bit later. But so you have 4 of the 5 ways to invest. Okay. So if you have like no money, or you do what I do, which is I buy mismanaged properties. And mismanaged property means that it's like 25 to 50% full. And like like I was buying a 100% full property, but the owner was like, no, I'm not giving you like the P&L and the balance sheet. I'm not giving you any numbers at all because all of my stuff is under one name, his personal name, which means he has no idea what he's doing. All my stuff is under my name, and I'm not going to hand over all my tax returns from all my other businesses and everything that I do so you can see all my stuff. He's like, no. So when a seller tells you that, essentially that's a mismanaged facility because he didn't properly run his business. He should have had a separate LLC and been all income going into that LLC and creating a P&L and a balance sheet and tax returns so that when he sold it, he could take that information, he could give that to the buyer, and the buyer could go to the bank and get a loan. Okay. So he didn't do that. And actually most storage facility owners, at least the ones that are tertiary, especially tertiary markets, they just, they got land and stuff, and they're just like, I got some land, let me just throw a storage facility on there. And then all that stuff. And then what happens is they just pocket that money, right? Everybody knows they just pocket it. They're not, and that's why he didn't want to give tax returns either, because I mean, he was making like almost $100,000 a year, but he wasn't showing $100,000 a year. He was showing like $60,000 a year. All right. So that's mismanaged facilities, right? So let's just say like a lot of mismanaged facilities you'll find in the secondary and tertiary, a lot and more in the tertiary than the secondary, right? And this is where you have to borrow private money or hard money, a private money or a hard money lender. And there's plenty of hard money lenders out there, they love storage facilities, okay? And private lender is just like your friend and your neighbor or something like this. Now, the one thing with private money is that it kind of caps out. Like, you can't buy $500,000 facilities because most people, they don't have $500,000. They have like $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, right? So you kind of cap out, you can't buy the bigger facilities, right? So maybe start out with the low, like a smaller one, and then like you build up, you start building up, and then maybe you can buy a mismanaged facility and then sell it and take that money that you make. Let's say you make $50,000 after you sell it, or $100,000 after you sell it. Then you can take that $50,000 to $100,000 and you can go and buy a bigger facility, right? So a lot of people do that, and they kind of like start small and then they scale up. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So mismanaged facilities use private money and hard money. So like I said, I love mismanaged facilities. Why? Because I rehabbed homes for many, many years. I was one of those crazy people that did like 15 rehabs at a time. I don't know why I did, but I did. And And like I like, you know, I learned how to raise money, so I had all these like private lenders. And so once I decided to move over into storage, essentially I would just sell a house and then just move that money over into a storage facility. So for me, it, you know, like, and if you're gonna borrow money, you know, at 9 or 10% interest rate, and that's the key too. Like, let's say 9, 10. I mean, it could be anywhere from like 8 to 12% or something like that, right? If you're going to borrow money at a high interest rate, essentially you need to be buying like mismanaged facilities. You don't want to buy a cash flowing facility at 10% interest rate, because essentially then your mortgage is going to be as much as what you're making, right? So you want to have that kind of that huge spread, and like that value add is what you want. Okay. And the one thing with mismanaged facilities a lot of people don't understand is that you have to come out of pocket a lot of times for this, like on a monthly basis, because you're not making that money every single month, right? You're not making that money, right? So we had to come out of pocket, you know, we have to come out of pocket in order to like, you know, to increase the cash flow, right? So we're okay with that. So essentially we borrow money to purchase it, but on a monthly basis, we come out of pocket to run the facility. Okay. Does that make sense to y'all? Is that good? Somebody says, use this as a starting point to calculate LOI. I have no idea what you're saying there. All right. Okay. So mismanaged facilities and cash flow are kind of the two like most popular ways to get in. And then a lot of people wholesale, and then a lot of people do new construction, right? There's 50,000 storage facilities. Now with the new construction, right? Very, very reasonable to be going into like secondary or tertiary markets to do new construction as well too, right? And there's a lot of value add in new construction. A lot of value add, all right? So you're going to be like, but the thing with new construction is that there's a lot of upfront money, right? So you have to have a lot of upfront money. So you have to like buy the land, you have to get a feasibility study, you got to get environmental studies, you got to do zoning if it's not zoned as like a warehouse or industrial space, depending on what the county is. Like, so there's a lot of upfront work. And then on top of that, you got to maybe clear the land, make sure it's like level, put the foundation down, build the building. And so it's not for the faint of heart, honestly. It takes a long time, because then once you get that all done, which probably takes like a year to do that, then you start at ground zero, right? And then you're still, you know, trying to get that all filled up, right? You know, and those mortgage payments start as soon as you're done with your loans and stuff, okay? So it's not for the faint of heart, but it's a great opportunity. And like I said, there's not enough storage facilities in the world, and especially like tertiary. Like, and you can do some really cheap storage facilities out like in these cities. Okay. All right. So I wanted to just quickly go over the cap rate. So you want to be focusing on like a 5 to 7% cap rate inside the city. And then the further that you go out, the higher the cap rate is, right? So most of the time, when I'm running my numbers out in like a tertiary market, I'm running it at double-digit cap rates. It is actually every facility that I've ever bought is always like at least 13 to 16% cap rate. And you get those out here, right? So cap rate, like essentially the way that the cap rate works is like the higher the cap rate, the riskier the property, and the lower the cap rate, the less riskier the property is. So you know, hedge funds are thinking like, oh, we need to be in the cities because like this is less riskier, right? But like for me personally, like, you know, most of these storage facilities in this area, they're running their numbers like 75 to 85% full. Like they are never 100% full. Whereas when you get out into the market here, it's not, and you learn how to run your business like a business and actually market and stuff, it is not difficult to get your facilities, you know, rented up to 100%. So you can run your numbers based on that. Okay. So you want to be like essentially, and you know, so this would be like an 8 to 9% cap rate. And I'll kind of go over this. Don't worry, y'all good. Don't worry if you're lost already. You'll get it. You guys just keep hanging out with me. Okay, so 5 to 7%, 8 to 9, and then like 10 and above, right? Does that make sense to y'all? Y'all are getting this a little bit? Okay. All right, we're going to go on to the next page. Everybody got this? We're good? Okay. All right. And yes, I had horrible handwriting. Okay, sorry. I had like doctor's chicken scratch handwriting. Okay, what was I gonna say? Okay, so now we're finding, so we're finding storage facilities, right? So now you're gonna be going to the secondary and tertiary markets. This is something that I have not taught to anybody. So there's only 69 people in the entire world that are gonna learn this concept. All right. So do y'all feel special for that? So I hired a land and storage acquisitions person because we focus on land and storage. And like land and storage go kind of hand in hand, honestly. It's two different ways of doing real estate investing, but they kind of go together, right? So anyways, I hired a land and storage acquisitions person because I just have no time to go out and look for storage facilities anymore. And like I'm teaching him how to get out there and really look for some good storage facilities. And we came up with this concept over the past week. So y'all, I haven't even taught this to my mastermind students, to my coaching students yet. I'm going to do that next Tuesday. So you guys are ahead of the game right now. Yes. All right. Ahead of the game. You got to take this tip and go find y'all some good storage facilities. Okay. All right. So, what we're going to do, all right, this is what you're going to do. And everybody remind me, where are y'all all from? Let's just say you're from like Utah. All right. Is there anybody here from Utah? All right. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go online and you're going to Google, right, Utah cities by population. Okay. And so now you're going to Google it and you're going to get like this, get a whole bunch of links or whatever. You click on the link and then you're going to see like this like long list of all your cities, a couple hundred cities within your state, right? Starting out with the biggest states and going all the way down to where it has like we have one town that has like 17 people in Georgia, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to take that list, all right? How many people here use Google Drive? Or what do y'all use for your cloud? Google Drive or whatever they're called. I only use Google Drive. So what are the other ones called? All right, Dropbox. Yeah, okay. So you're going to take this list, all right, because you need to be working in the cloud, right? So that you can be working anywhere in the world. This is the first step for you to get your storage facilities completely in the cloud, right? Because what I teach is that you need to set your business up so that you can be anywhere in the world. All right. Got that? So I travel 6 to 8 months out of the year. All right. And the only way I can do that is by having everything in the drive. How many people are like, I use the Google Drive or I'm in the cloud all the time. I'm completely virtual. And some people are like, I'm not virtual at all. Like this is just not me at all. Right. Who's like completely virtual here? LaDonna's like, no, not me. All right. So y'all need to be virtual. This is a 21st century. Everybody should be virtual. Okay. All right. So now you're going to go into the drive or whatever, and you're going to open up a spreadsheet. So you start the Google Sheets. Right. So this is number 1. This is number 2. So you're going to take your Google Sheet. Right. And you're going to take this list and you're going to make a spreadsheet. Right. So make a spreadsheet. Okay. And then, okay, you're going to number 3. I'm so excited about this. This is awesome. I am so excited about this. I really feel like we're gonna do some stuff here. Okay, so Google Sheet, put it in a spreadsheet right now. So now you have all your cities in the spreadsheet. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna look for towns, for cities. All right, that are 5,000 to 20,000. Okay, not 50, 5,000 to 20,000 cities. Population, okay? Okay, and then highlight those in like a yellow or something like this. Like those are the cities, okay? Now, when you look through those cities, like what's going to happen is like some of those cities are going to be like suburbs of like your bigger cities, right? So if you have like, what's a city in Utah? Like Salt Lake, I should know. I just literally spent like a month there. So Salt Lake, and then you have like Park Cities and like all the all these kind of as you get farther out, the burbs get smaller and smaller, right? So you don't want to be in any of those, right? You don't want to be anywhere where it's like the 5 to 7% cap rate, possibly the 8 to 9% cap rate, but it all depends on like which city. So for instance, like Birmingham, like downtown Birmingham, obviously you don't want to be in downtown Birmingham, but like when you get kind of farther out, like like it's not, Birmingham's not a big city, you know what I'm saying? So you could be in the secondary markets. Now, and then in some cities you have to be in the tertiary markets. Okay. Okay, so now you're gonna highlight all these 5,000 to 20,000 population cities, okay? And you're gonna go through each of those cities and try to figure out where they're located, okay? And like you're gonna be like, okay, and I'm sorry, most of them you're like, I don't even know about this city, right? Okay, so, and then what you're gonna do, all right? Okay, so now you're gonna find these cities and you're gonna highlight them, and you're gonna what's it called? Scrub the list, like scrub it, right? So scrub it. So it's actual cities that are not attached to the metro city. Scrub, no burbs. Okay, something like this. Does that make sense to y'all? Nobody's lost here, right? And then after that, what you're going to do is you're going to start looking on Google Maps for storage facilities. Okay, Google Maps. Y'all can still see this good. Okay, Google Maps. So go to Google Maps, and then you search that city. Right, so let's say you find a city that's like 7,934. So you go on Google Maps and you search that city, right, and it comes up. All right, you want to go to satellite view. And then you're going to search storage and see what comes up. How many storage facilities come up in that area? Okay, and then you're going to take those, and you're going to create a new tab in your spreadsheet, and you're going to label it like whatever the name of the town was. Like, I don't know, whatever it's like, I don't know. What's the name of a town? Jonesville, and you're going to put the population, right? So let's say you name this tab, right? So let's do 6 is new tab in your sheet with population and city name. City and population, okay? And so you're going to name that. And so you're going to start, literally what you're going to start doing is like looking at those 5 to 20,000 and start listing out all the storage facilities that you find and put them like in this kind of master sheet. All right. And then what you're going to do, and then you're going to look up storage. You're going to look up self-storage, mini warehouse, like all these different types of names, because you'll look up storage and then you'll look up self-storage and like another thing will pop up. You'll look up warehouses, because like I don't know why they call them mini warehouses, or something like this. So you have to look up all of the different like ways that people name their storage facilities, essentially, right? There's like, it's not just like storage facility. It's like many warehouses and all this kind of stuff. Okay. So then this is here. Okay. So what else? So then after that, now you're going to start you're going to start kind of getting an idea of like the storage facilities and how many there are in that town, in that size population. I'm going to tell you, there's a correlation between population and self-storage. All right. There's a correlation. And so that's what you're trying to figure out, is what is that correlation for your area? All right. How many, if there's an 8,000, population, like of 8,000 people town, how many storage facilities should be in that area for your state or whatever? You know what I'm saying? So, just kind of depends on where you're at, right? So that's what I'm trying to think. What is that correlation? That's what I'm trying to figure. It's what you're trying to figure out. Okay. Now the best part, okay, is you want to start looking for the hidden market. The hidden market. Okay. I can guarantee you that there's storage facilities that are not on Google listings. I can guarantee. And in fact, I went out, I bought a list of like storage facilities, and don't do lists, all right? Because everybody's doing the list, and all it does is just piss everybody off, because there's not a lot of storage facilities in the world, okay, in the States, all right? So I bought a list, and I was looking at the list, and what happened is, like, I bought this list, and like all the storage facilities for Georgia are on this list, right? But then like we started looking like in towns, and like it would have like maybe two storage facilities in that town. But guess what? We found 5, right? And so for some reason, like the lists are not picking up the hidden market. They're picking up what's on like Google listings and things like this, but not the hidden market. Because what happens is that in order to get like on Google, right? Has anybody ever tried to put a business like on Google My Business or Google listings? It's a pain in the ass. All right. Like you have to like go on and like start online, first of all. And everybody, half of the people, not even half, most of the people in the tertiary markets are like 80 years old that own these things, right? Like they're not going to go online if they have one facility with like 50 or 100 units and like sit there and like, try to figure out Google My Business. They're just not going to do this. Okay. So most of them don't even have websites or anything like this. Okay. Now when we buy our facilities, we're not going to do that. We're going to run our business like a business. Right. But essentially most of them don't. So they don't get on Google listings. So that's what I call the hidden market. And so you're going to be looking on Google listings and listing all those out so you can figure out the correlation on your spreadsheet. But your goal is to find the hidden market. All right. And then once you find the hidden market, number 8 is you've got to draw this, and nobody teaches this. All right. I teach this. Drive for storage. You've got to go down there and look for storage facilities that are not on the market. Okay. And that is how you find the best storage facilities. Now you can go to Crexy and LoopNet and go online, MLS and all this, but I'm going to tell you the ones that you get the most bang for your buck are driving for storage. Okay. And the reason why is because you want to be the first person to get to the owner before a realtor gets to the owner. All right, because a realtor is going to run their numbers on a 5 to 7% cap rate. When you get like an 8% cap rate, like on Crexy, like everybody's just like, I'm on it, like I want that one. And they're so happy about it. But I'm telling you, every facility I bought is exactly the way that I just told you. And I'm buying double-digit cap rates in the tertiary markets, okay? You want to buy as high as you can in the cap rate and sell it as low as you can in the cap rate, okay? All right? And yeah, so and I just said the population is like the 5,000 to the 20,000. When you're getting to like 25,000, that's a big town. It kind of gets expensive. You'll know, that's what I'm saying. And that's another thing is like when you start filling everything out, try to figure out what the price is, you'll start seeing that, because we looked at a city today that had like 10,000 people in it. And guess what? It's not a big box company, but it was like a big box company that was like a one-off. It's like a huge big building. And that city only had 10,000 people in it. And I think it had like 2 other storage facilities, and that's it. So essentially what he did was very smart. He went in and he was like, look, there's not enough storage facilities in this area. I'm going to build me a storage facility. Right. So you can build it. If you see that there's not enough, you can build a storage facility. And then if you see that there's like enough, you just go and you just try to you buy the ones that are already there. Okay. All right. And I don't know anything about shipping containers to build storage facilities. If you want to do that, I would just go into like a Facebook group and just like, just search like storage Facebook groups, join, and then post that out and see. Maybe some people have done that. It's not like a huge big thing, but some people have done that. Okay. I don't do that. I buy mismanaged facilities or